And welcome to this episode of After the Breach podcast. We're your hosts, Jeff Friedman and Sara Shimazu, coming to you from Friday Harbor here on San Juan Island. And Jeff, it's been a pretty eventful month this September. Welcome to episode 17.
Hello, welcome to episode 17. It has been an incredible month. September always is. I don't know why. I don't know anybody can really put their fingers on exactly why it is, but it just seems that everything is so alive in the Salish Sea in September, and there are so many whales. There's other really cool stuff. The bait balls are huge. We saw
huge bait balls,
but we also saw some epic krill.
Well, one of us did.
You saw some one day. It may not have been epic.
I saw it on your phone video.
So we're gonna bring everybody up to date with some of the latest awesome September sightings. We're gonna recap an amazing first ever After the Breach podcast photo workshop.
It was pretty great.
We have dates for 2024 for next year's workshop.
As people have been asking.
And we'll talk a little bit about our 2025 charter to the Silver Bank. And we're gonna do a Meet the Matriline.
Yeah, we started that a few episodes ago, and then, we just got so caught up with everything else going on, and it's time. It's time to bring it back.
Yeah, we forgot it last time. There was just so much whale stuff to talk about.
There was a lot of whale stuff to talk about.
As there is now.
There is.
Yeah,
so
September is always, people who listen probably have heard us say, it is our favorite month out here.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, crickets. But no, it's just been so amazing, not just for the killer whales, which we have tons to talk about there, but for the humpback whales as well. And you kind of alluded to that in our intro.
Yes.
Sorry for the long pause there. I was just like, did you really allude to it, or did you just say it outright? Well, the humpbacks have been amazing.
They've been incredible, and they usually are this time of year. I think that by now they've regained a lot of their body weight, and so they have a little bit more time to do other things. You and I were both out there on different boats when we saw a very familiar humpback named Stitch.
I love his little mouth. It's smushed up on the top.
Yeah, he's got a smushed
upper lip.
Yeah. And we were out in the Strait of Juan de Fuca, and Stitch came across a big kelp bed with logs in it and spent several hours just rolling around, having a spa day in the kelp.
I'm pretty sure he was doing that the next day too.
Probably. It was so incredible to watch. The two standout moments for me.
After I left.
I don't know. You may not.
Yeah, you texted me.
There was one when you left, but the first one I think you were there for, when Stitch was surfacing right in the middle of this huge kelp bed, and the exhale was blasting the kelp in the air like confetti.
Yeah,
that
cool.
was awesome. That was so cool to see. It was ripping the kelp apart and blasting it in the air, and that was pretty cool. And I think Stitch was entertained by that.
Mm-hmm.
Who wouldn't be? It was. I'll try and find. I may have some photos. I actually haven't even gone through my photos yet from that day, but may have some photos from that. And then this definitely was after you left.
Yeah, I know.
Stitch was surfacing and was rolling logs around his rostrum and down his body for quite a while, and then. Right before we left, Stitch rolled a log over to our boat.
Hopefully not into the motors.
Not into the motors, but you could kind of see it coming. Where it's like, is he rolling that over here? And yep, he was.
That's so funny.
It was pretty neat. It was very brief. It was very short, and then he moved back into the kelp bed.
And I think you sent me a picture. It was a pretty sizable log.
Yeah, no, this wasn't like a stick. This was not quite a telephone pole, but big.
Yeah.
It was a big log.
Yeah, I remember that trip we had in December. I think it was 2019 with Lucky. You remember that when we found her in a kelp patch north of Turn Point? like in the middle of the kelp.
In doing it was very similar to that. Yeah.
And
that was,
lucky and she
it
was
a cool
lifting logs
humpback.
up on her back, like big
I
logs.
wonder, like, I mean, is that, a massage? I mean, it's like their version of a foam roller.
Swedish massage.
Well, like the foam rollers, that you roll around it. Like, is
Hot
that
stones?
Yeah, is that their version?
Maybe it is.
I mean, there's definitely plenty of those out there.
I mean, you imagine if you had like little parasites on your skin that would, be rubbing them off potentially. Probably feels good. Scratches an itch.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, why else would they be doing that for so long?
At the very least, it's probably fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you were there and I had gone further west to race because there was some text messages that came in that said there were amazing lunge feeding humpbacks with lots of krill in the water and salmon leaping through the krill. And by the time I got out there, it was pretty calm and quiet. But you got out there a couple days later and and had some amazing views.
I'll post some photos or video of that. And I think what I've learned from that experience is when there are lunge feeding humpbacks out there and people are talking about they're seeing boiling krill and huge mats of krill, it's not a constant, right?
Right. It's constantly changing.
It's like
that's the only constant.
Right. It's like getting a report of a breaching humpback. Like, I'm not going there because by the time I get there, it's not going to be breaching. But the timing worked out. The weather was perfect. The lighting was perfect. And I've never seen anything like this before, certainly not here. Looking over the side of the boat and seeing these huge swarms and mats of krill and then humpbacks all around lunge feeding through it. And I trusted that, everybody said these iPhones are waterproof. So I stuck my hand overboard with video rolling and got some pretty
it was
cool
pretty
video.
Amazing.
I mean, it was thick. It was dense, full of krill.
And does your phone still work?
It was a little shaky for about 2 days. I couldn't hear, like when I would answer the phone, I couldn't hear. I'd have to put them on speaker.
Oh.
But it's all working now.
All right, good to know.
So I don't know if like a krill got in the earpiece or what. I may have a dead krill somewhere in my iPhone.
Great. Sure, that was just the way that krill was thinking it was going to go out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it was absolutely incredible to see.
And they're still out there. We were just out there this weekend, and we'll talk about that with our workshop stuff.
And this is prime time for humpbacks.
Mm-hmm.
It's the later you go into fall, I think the better it gets. All the way sometimes it can go into December.
Yeah.
And I will just put this plug out there. We do have a few all-day tours left.
And I think
with
there's
my
some seats
Legacy
left.
Whale watching, where we do have some seats. I think we have a lot of seats on a couple of them. So, we never know if we're going to get out to the humpback aggregations. The weather's got to line up too, and the aggregations have to be happening. But this time of September whales often goes into October. It really starts, I think, early to mid-August and goes into mid to late October. It can be just epic out on the water. There's something about that time where it's like the peak of the summer season, like this late booming summer, and then we're also starting to get the winter wildlife coming back too. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's been a little different this year. Like, we haven't really had the big, huge aggregations as they weren't close last year, but they were pretty, they were like just beyond Souk, I think.
Yeah.
And they've been a lot further west.
That's usually October is when they're.
Yeah,
when
that's true. That's true.
They might be a little later because they are starting to see them consistently further west.
Right.
So we'll see. Maybe October might still be good. Closer.
I think it will. I mean, it's just still great regardless. It's just been a little bit different, and I'm wondering how much or how little or maybe none at all the fact that we're going into an El Nino year would impact that.
Yeah, I think I can't remember who I was talking to who said that may actually push things in further.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll take it.
And so that might be pretty cool for October.
Crew trip.
And definitely. And while it's been pretty quiet on the southern resident killer whale front, the Bigg's killer whales in September have been probably the best I can remember in my time here, as far as every day there are so many groups out there.
Yeah, there's been a few days, well, more than a few days, quite a few days this month where I've just been flabbergasted at how many groups have been found, and then continually more getting found throughout the day.
And I mean, how many times have you been out there with a group where you're the only one out there? There's one other boat, because there's so many different groups out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That you go out there in the middle of the day at 1 o'clock and you're the only one there.
And it's hard to get people to like hold coverage because no one's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who are some of these groups that we've been seeing?
Well, it might be shorter list to say who hasn't been here. I'm just kidding.
Well, we said that. It's funny. We said that on the last episode too.
Yeah.
And now it's talking about August.
But it's kind of been I feel like it's been a little bit of a change in who's been here this month versus last month.
Definitely. There's some carryover, but I think you're absolutely right.
So the 69s are ones that have been carried over. Like they were here in August a bit, but they've been still hanging around. And the 69As actually have come in. And
well, I still have not seen the 69As, and I don't think I've ever seen them.
Oh. Well, to be fair, I've only seen them like I think now 2 or 3 times ever. So,
but 69s are spending more time here this year than I think they were new to me last year.
Yeah, really cool family.
Yeah.
Kai is huge. She's just that massive dorsal fin and the
little eye patch.
Little eye patch. But you know what's funny with the 69As is one of those kids has a very similar tiny little eye patch, just like Uncle Kai.
Yeah.
So
Elle and Uncle Kai was pretty cool. Just a spoiler alert for the photo workshop. I think it was him that he was on his back and he flung I think it was an auklet.
I didn't see it. I saw the aftermath. I saw the bird come back down.
It was, I was so dialed in when it happened. Like I was looking right there, and he like flung his tail into the air and saw a rhinoceros auklet, which is a deep diving seabird. So it was underwater when he flung it into the air, probably 30 feet at least.
Oh yeah.
Because it went higher than
Salish Sea eclipse.
Well, Saratoga was in front of us.
Oh yeah. No, I'm sorry. That was who it was.
So yeah. So it went higher than their boat. And at the peak, it's flapping its wings. And I'm thinking like, oh, cool. It's going to fly away. And it just dropped straight down.
While flapping. Who wouldn't?
Yeah. It's a little bit of a
poor little bird.
Yeah. Yeah. But the 69s are a cool family, but I've yet to see the 69As.
Well, maybe tomorrow.
List. Maybe.
You never know.
Never know. One family that's been around quite a bit, and I can't remember if we talked about them last month being around.
I think we talked about them in part.
How do you even know who I'm going to say?
Oh, well, maybe not.
Who am I going to say?
The 109As.
No.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't. But yeah, they were around last month, and very cool family.
All right.
I was gonna talk about the T60s.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
So mom with 3 of her 5 kids, because 2 of the boys are up north that travel around together pretty much. They come back and visit. Mm-hmm. And then they go off and they're just 2 brothers hanging out, but the rest of the family's been down here very, very often. And I didn't really know them as well until this year. I mean, I've seen them a lot over the years, but it really wasn't until this year of seeing them more often and almost every day over a period of time. And they are a very, very hungry family.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And a big male to keep fed.
Yeah. We had a trip. Well, I was out there one day with you when they were just demolishing every seal in their path up the west side of San Juan Island.
Yeah.
And then it was the day or 2 days before that where they were doing that in the northern part of the San Juan Islands. But for whatever reason, mom didn't want to, I don't know if she wanted a nap, needed some alone time. She went around the north side, the northeast side of Stewart Island. The 4 kids went around the southwest side, and the 4 kids were just, I mean, they were just hunting seals. And
isn't it 3?
It is 3.
The four of them.
Yes,
total.
the four of them.
Okay. Yeah.
My bad. So mom was on one side of the island, the kids were on the other, and the kids, it was like they were on their own. And
mom was out of the house, so they're going to eat whatever they want.
Exactly. And I don't know if I just didn't notice this or if this is a new thing, but they really love to spy hop after.
Oh yeah.
After the predation.
Yeah.
That one trip that we were both on the west side, it was like spy hop central.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty cool.
I left my camera that day, so.
I was not taking, I don't think I was taking photos. I think April was taking photos, but it was such a cool thing to see. And yeah, they've really grown on me.
They're a cool family.
They're very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been fun to watch them grow. They were, man, I remember seeing T60C yell gnats back in the mid, like 2015 or so. And he was still kind of sprouting.
See, that's something that I'm looking forward to. That is an experience that you have because you've been doing this for so long, of watching these whales grow up.
Mm-hmm. That's the best part.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how some of these whales turn out and how they grow up and who they're hanging out with and all of that. It's cool that you have that longevity.
It is very cool, and I can't wait for you to have it too. Just a few more years. I think some of these kids are going to be having kids of their own.
Well, there's so many of them.
Yeah. And
there's so many of these kids that it's going to be really interesting. I mean, you mentioned the 109As, and I talk about them, the 109s, as this power family. Between the 109, like that whole line, there's
huge.
Almost 30 whales in that, just in that family. Lately,
but yeah, they've been popping out kids.
Yeah. And the 109s have been briefly around, but the 109As have been around quite a bit the last month.
Yeah, yeah.
And the 109Bs showed up.
109. Oh,
they were out there. I think.
I didn't even know.
I'm pretty sure they were out west.
Snuck in under my radar.
And then we saw the 109A2s on our photo workshop.
Yeah. So for those of you. And the A2s have been kind of bouncing in and out, like they've been here a few times. But so if you haven't listened to our Bigg's intro episode, which was way back, I think it was the second or third episode we did, when we're saying all these numbers and, T109, T60. So T109 was the 109th Bigg's killer whale to be cataloged in this population. Her oldest offspring is T109A, and then T109A has, 7 offspring. So T109A2 is her second, and that's her daughter, who is split off and has her own kids. She's 18 years old. We were just talking about this with Monica on the last day of the workshop. 18 years old and has 4 kids already, and has been like continuously nursing, like lactating or pregnant for 7 years or something like that. Her first calf when she was 11.
They're such a cool family to see because of that. It's like you have all these small whales in the entire family, and you've got like mom with all these little kids, and they're really active. And it's really fun to see. It's like they're the young family, and I mean, she's got so much more time ahead of her to have more kids. And apparently she likes to have kids. And she's been pregnant. What amount I could say most of the last 9 years.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yep.
So pretty incredible. So yeah, it's episode 2 and episode 6 where we talk in depth about the Bigg's killer whales, and we pretty much talk about them every episode because we see them so much.
They're so cool.
And they are very cool. Well, and we've talked about this before where it's really now that we're learning, not only are we learning about their social dynamics more because we're seeing them more, but they're a much bigger population now than they've been in recent history. And so I think their social dynamics are evolving and they're becoming more social because there are more of them out there. I was talking about this on the photo workshop. Because there's so many more of them out there, I think we're getting multiple groups and multiple matrilines together more often now than
we've seen, at least.
Than we've seen.
Yeah.
because there's so many more of them. There are more of them to run into each other and to hang out together. And they have so much more food now that, like the humpbacks this time of year, right? They have so much more food that they can spend more of their time doing things other than searching for food.
Yeah. So, and I talk about this too, like when I'm out in the water, people are like, oh, are they looking for food? Like, well, yeah, I mean, when are they not? But it's like, they don't have to think, okay, I'm here right now and I'm going to need to eat soon. So I need to go over to that rock to find food. Like they can literally, they'll find food wherever they are. So it's not like they're having to like go to a specific place to find food. It's everywhere.
Right. And the fridge is always stocked.
Yeah. So they can devote potentially, I guess, like I would think if I, was that in that position, I could devote that brain space that I might use to like be thinking about where I'm going to go to get my next meal into socializing or resting or other kinds of behaviors.
It's exactly. They also know where all the food is. We've never talked about this, but I know you're going to know what I'm talking about. How many times have you seen a group of Biggs, all of a sudden they're traveling at a really fast clip. They just turn on the jets and they're going to an area where there are a lot of seals or porpoise, and then they get close to that area, then they slow down and start going a little low profile because they're looking at it. It's like they knew. It's like, hey, Denny's is over there.
So you're thinking about the 109A2s on Sunday. Is that what you're thinking of?
Well, I was thinking about that, but I was also thinking about when we see them kind of racing over to Alden Bank and then they slow down.
Sure.
I honestly don't know why I said Denny's because I can't remember. Like, I probably haven't been to Denny's in
Did you have a college
years.
Flashback there, Jeff?
I don't know what that was about, but I don't know why I said Denny's.
Well, speaking of another powerhouse family,
I thought you were going to say, speaking of Denny's.
I'm moving on from Denny's, Jeff. I got to move on. The T-46s, they've been not just the 46s, though they've been around, but the 46Bs and the B1s have all been around. And one day I got out west and they were all together and it was really cool.
Yeah, I have. It's funny. I haven't seen them, but I'm glad you got to see them all together because that doesn't happen a lot. And when it does, it's really cool.
It was really cool. So it was one of those days where, it was the early boat off the dock. There was a report way west. And it was like, first it was like 5 whales and then it was 10 whales. And then it was like, we have 30 plus whales out here.
Wow.
And we did, we booked it out there because we had another trip. So we had to get out there. And we were just with that one group, but there were other groups all over, like T11A Rainey was, just a couple miles away. The 60s were a couple miles away. There were other like groups. I don't even remember who it was or there, but it was like super glassy. It was just really beautiful. And it was, nice to see the 46s with the 46Bs and B1s.
That's so cool.
All
it's been
together.
A few years since I've seen them all together like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was actually, I think, the first time this year that I've seen the 46Bs. They've been eluding me.
Yeah, they haven't been around a lot this year, I don't think.
Yeah, but good to see him. Sam is still not, broke off from the 46B1s and was last seen with 63 and 65.
She must have a thing for chainsaw.
Yeah. Who wouldn't?
And we talked about them in the last episode. They made an appearance down here in late August or early September.
Yeah.
It was late August.
And they've still been kind of up north.
Campbell River
River, yeah. Nanaimo, Campbell River, kind of bouncing around back between those two places.
Yeah. So who knows? We might see a late September, early October visit from them. Would be really cool, but I'm not.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Not crossing my fingers for that. Who knows? I don't think that'll happen, but it'd be cool if it did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the list continues on, Jeff.
It does, and we should talk a little bit about because we did see the 60s and we did see the 109A2s and the 109As on our photo workshop, our 2-day all-day tour photo workshop, where I think the final count was we had 48 unique individual killer whales, and we ended up with 32 killer whales each day.
Yeah, tie.
So there was some overlap.
I was really worried, as you said, on day 2 at the end of the day. I was really worried when we got back on Saturday night. I was like,
Terrified.
man, you know how it is. We have a day here with tons of different groups of Biggs, and it's more often than not, it seems like the next day is just like a desert out there.
It's so counterintuitive, but it happens a lot that when there are a huge number of whales in the area on a certain day, it's like the next day you're lucky if there's one group with like 2 whales.
Yeah.
And everybody's scratching their heads like where'd they all go, because it's not like they're not just not in this area, but they're not getting reported way out west, they're not getting reported up north, and it's like they have this tunnel or this like
they took the tunnel
underwater resort. I mean, it's really uncanny. So yeah, after the first day that we had 32 whales, I was like, oh man, we're not going to have any orcas tomorrow.
Yeah, I definitely didn't think we were going to see different whales. Like,
right?
And I mean, yeah, maybe one family that was different, but I think we had 16 quote unquote new whales from the day before, like
right, exactly.
on Sunday.
Yeah. So the plan was, and this is kind of funny, we left the dock Saturday morning. The plan was we're going to go west and
we're going to find the herd.
We're going to find the herd of humpbacks, or at least we're going to go to Race Rocks and see the lunge feeding humpbacks to start, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do. And our first stop was with a group of 20 killer whales.
Yeah.
I think we had 20 in that first group. We had the 60s, we're with the 69s.
I don't think it was
and
quite
the 109As were in there.
Oh, with the A2s, so maybe it was. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had 20 killer whales in our first group, which were really hard to leave because they kept flirting like they were going to get together
with a different group. Of 11.
Yeah, and that was Jack's summer camp, which we should talk about Jack's summer camp.
Yeah, go for it. We briefly talked about it on the last episode, I think.
So I think in the last episode, when we were talking about these really interesting splits in matrilines that we're seeing that we've never really seen that much of before.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking about a trip that I was out and we saw 137A Jack with his younger sister, 137D, and it was just the 2 of them. And Mom and his other sister were they were not ridiculously far away, but they were traveling in a different direction. I think when that happened, when we recorded the last episode,
that was the split.
That was the split, and we just figured like, oh, you know, when they're seen tomorrow, they'll be back together. And that was not the case, because Jack and his little sister have picked up 2 of the kids from the 37As.
One of my favorite whales.
Yeah.
37A3.
37A3 and 37A4, right, are in there.
Spinnaker and
flat top.
Yeah. Crinkle / flat top.
And so it's the 4 of them. And so Jack is out with these 3 little kids.
Yeah. Jack, so we've just been calling it the summer camp.
Jack's summer camp. But they picked up another matriline over this weekend that joined up with Jack's summer camp. Yeah,
and I haven't seen these whales, gosh, in over a year as well. The 35As and the 38As. We've seen 38D and E.
Yeah, see, I don't know those
we
whales
saw
very well.
2 of 38A's sisters. So, 2 matrilines, but they are related. So T35, which is T35A's, obviously her mom, is also the presumed mom of T38. So it would be aunt and niece, and then their kids traveling together, along with the summer camp crew.
Right. And wait, the 35As and 38As, they're very fuzzy to me. Like
we've actually seen them a bit.
Yeah, I know I've seen them, but it's so much time goes between sightings for me that I don't really know those whales.
I'm going to paint you a picture. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
We had a 2-trip day. This was a couple years ago, maybe more. I wasn't feeling the hottest on our first trip, and I was going to see if I could get someone to cover, and you said, no, don't do it.
I remember
they're heading for Hind Bank.
They were circling a Hind Bank.
So I bucked it up. Those were the 35As and 38As with California tees.
Right, that Dave Dave wasn't sure who he had there.
Yeah. And we were heading out on that second trip, and we got the call, stellar sea lion hunt in progress. We got out there and watched them work the stellar for, I don't know, over an hour.
You were gonna. Wasn't the same trip that that kid was crying to go
It
home?
was.
Okay.
It was the kid where the trip where the kid told his dad to tell the captain to take him home.
I believe he said, tell the driver to
The
take him.
driver. And then his dad said, he's not the driver, he's the captain.
And then he said, tell the captain to take me home.
Right in the middle of the
Right
hunt.
in the middle
Yeah.
of this
Yeah.
epic aerial stellar hunt.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things, and I have to share this with our listeners, this is one of the things about Sara I appreciate the most, is it doesn't matter what matriline is out there. I can say, I've never seen them before. And she will immediately say, yes, you have. We saw them in 2017. They were down in Admiralty Inlet. And it's just the way her mind works. It is amazing. Like, I could keep all this in a spreadsheet, but I don't need to.
It's in my brain.
It's in your brain. So much so that if I say, I'm not sure I saw them or I've ever seen them, and if I see you thinking about it, I know that I haven't. You're that fast to recall where and when.
Well, at least I remember some things.
It's amazing. But I do remember that day, and I was glad that you didn't take that trip off.
Yeah, it was a cool day.
Because you could tell the trip before, like they were circling this area real slowly, and it's like everything's going to break open soon, and they're going to go after a big predation event. And
we had one of the 35As like kind of give us a close pass and like roll. Oh no, it wasn't one of the 35As. I take that back. It was one of the California Ts that rolled and like made eye contact with us on the boat. That was pretty cool.
That's so cool. Yeah, that was an epic trip. What year was that?
I want to say it was 2018.
See, I like your memory is amazing.
Well, it could not be 2018, but I'll look it up. I think it was 2018.
I'll bet you it was.
But speaking of some other cool whales, we had some on the last day of our workshop.
The last day of our workshop.
First for you, right?
No.
No,
I saw them 2 days before,
and
but
me too.
New to me, new to you, and
New to Monica.
New to Monica. Well, this is a family that apparently has not been documented anywhere since 2021.
Not just 2021, January of 2021.
Yeah. So over 2 years with nobody. I can't say nobody seeing them, but nobody seeing them and documenting that it was them.
Right.
So it's the 28 A's. I saw the 28s in 2017.
Yeah, I remember because you got a pretty cool photo of T-28 breaching.
Yeah. Yeah, they had just killed a stellar sea lion in Admiralty Inlet. But I've never seen the 28 A's and had a great trip a couple of days before our photo workshop with them where they, this was really funny to me. They had been with the T-60s when they were coming in, when they were eastbound from way out west the day before.
Yeah.
They were presumably with the T-60s that morning when they were documented by the Center for Whale Research. About 30 minutes to an hour after they documented that, we encountered the T-60s with the 36As, but the 28As were not there.
And that was in President's Channel between Waldron Island and Orcas Island, right?
Correct. And then the 28As were found on their own later that morning. Mm-hmm. And then we were with them in the afternoon. Like
just a couple miles north of where the center had them that morning.
Very close. And then we were with the 28As on the second trip, and they rejoined the T-60s, and there was so much excitement and breaching and rolling, and it's
which was the opposite of what I saw when I saw them on my trip.
Well, and it's so funny. It's like, wow, they haven't seen each other in 6 hours. You would have thought they hadn't seen each other in 6 years. They were so excited to see each other. It was very funny. It's like if that were people, it would just be like, oh, hey.
Right. How was that coffee?
Right. But we did have them on the second day of the photo workshop, which was another example, like middle of the day, seeing them in an area that's known to have predation events because there's so much food, and we're the only whale watching boat there.
Yeah. It was really cool. And my first encounter with them, they were super cryptic, like close to 10-minute dives.
Wow.
Which is probably how they didn't get found until later in the afternoon.
Right.
And lots of direction changes. And what's kind of cool is that there's 4 whales. So in the catalog, the T28As just have the 3. And now they're 4. But they've been gone, quote unquote, gone for so long that we don't know, like, when was this calf born? Like, is it a T28A? Like, we just don't, presumably it is her calf. It looks, it's swimming right in her slipstream, but it's not new.
Right. No, it's definitely not like a new, like, is it like wrinkly orange calf?
A young kid that like left another family and joined up? Is it her calf? Like, it's just really interesting. Like, these are the kind of the cool things that happen when whales can still disappear for years.
It's amazing. And then show up. It is amazing how that happens.
But,
presumably they're off the outer coast of British Columbia,
Central
Southeast
Coast,
Alaska.
BC.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody there.
Good for them. But yeah, Sunday was really cool seeing them kind of working through the kelp, and they really like those kelp beds.
Yeah. They went from kelp bed to kelp bed.
Yeah.
The entire time we were with them.
Picking off presumably harbor seals in Baines Channel. It was just so cool.
And prior to that, we saw Jack's summer camp.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really neat. So the first day of the workshop, Saturday, we left the end of the day. We had Jack's summer camp.
And probably the most gorgeous lighting conditions I've had all year. It was just incredible. It was surreal. It was with the clouds,
the glassiest water. And it had been cloudy and a little rainy during the day, and it opened up and the sun was out, but you also had these really low-lying clouds against the mountains, but it was sunny, and the water was just glassy and absorbing the color of the sunlight. And you had we had 11 whales just surfacing through this glass. It was absolutely beautiful, and it was a cool way to end the day. And then it was really neat that we started the next day with the same exact group of whales, which is a pretty rare thing to happen.
Yeah. I thought for sure they'd be like split, and some of them down in Puget Sound, and I don't know where the other ones would be, Salmon Bank or something like that.
Yeah, so we started with them and then went to the 28As, and then went to the 109As, who are
A2s.
A2s, yeah, that's right. And all the kids racing to an area where they had food.
Yeah, the newborn and the 2-year-old that looked relatively similar in size.
They look like the same. Yeah.
It's like, which is which?
But they all look, I mean, they're all young. They all look small.
Yeah.
And then we finished with the 49As and the 36As.
Yeah.
So that was the 16 or the 32 whales on the second day.
Yeah.
And it was we had a great time out there. I mean, it was not what we were, it's never what you're expecting. I mean, I thought we were going to be with humpbacks, and we were pretty much with killer whales the entire tour, different groups of killer whales the entire 2 days, which was pretty cool. And it does make me a little nervous for next year's photo workshop.
I know. How can we top it?
I know.
But I mean,
I was saying on the trip, like, we're never doing a photo workshop again.
Right. Like, podcast is over. This is a lot. No, I'm just kidding. But I think the great thing about workshop, or any trip, not even workshop, sorry, about trips in general and being out is, you're going to have epic days like that. And you're going to have days that are, not epic like that. And that's okay. Like, it just shows you how dynamic this place is, how dynamic these whales are. And really, like, any encounter we have, any bit of knowledge we can glean from encounters with these whales kind of puts everything into a broader perspective for us. So
for sure. And any day on the water with any species of whale is epic.
Yeah. And I think it's cool too. Like, we went into this, like, kind of feeling like, okay, this is going to be like one of our typical all day tours. But with people that have joined us because they've listened to the podcast or have been out with us before. And we really kind of, like, I think because we had so many whales around, spent, pretty much the whole time with whales. And that's kind of like what the podcast is about. It's about whales, right?
It's about it's not
about
wildlife.
like creating those huge long species lists, but it's about spending, some pretty quality time with, different groups and seeing kind of different behaviors and different stories to share about different whales that we encounter and that kind of thing. So it's really kind of a unique trip and a great way to put everything into perspective.
For sure. Being able to learn about all the different matrilines and see their differences, the difference of ages and their different behaviors, and just how some matrilines behaviors may change, throughout the day. You never know what to expect. We do have dates for next year's photo workshop. And if you are interested in joining us, it's 2 days. You can sign up for one day or both.
Mm-hmm.
You can sign up. It's Saturday and Sunday. You can sign up for either day or both days. If you're interested, email us at afterthebreachpodcast@gmail.com. And it is going to be a little bit earlier next year. It's August 24th and 25th. We will put some information up in the show notes and on our website. It includes lunch and a bunch of snacks, and we had
tons of snacks.
we had overkill of food.
Our traditional donuts.
Yes, there is a donut tradition that starts every all-day tour, and our After the Breach podcast tours. It is a requirement. You're not required to eat a donut. It's just required that we pick the donuts up from a very specific
and have them on the boat.
Place and have them on the boat. We did one all-day tour years ago. It was when the border...
Our only one.
The only one when the border was closed that we did not have these specific donuts. And it's the only all-day tour we've ever run where we did not see whales. And so that will never, ever happen again. If you're interested in joining us, definitely send us an email. We're taking signups. If we fill that, we might add another one. But it's August 24th, August 25th, Saturday and Sunday, 2024. Wow, 2024.
That's crazy. Less than a year away.
I know.
But yeah, like Jeff said, if we fill that one up, we do have another date in mind for a second one. So if you're interested, let us know. Shoot us an email. We're also planning a 2025. I know you've heard this on previous episodes. 2025 trip with Conscious Breath Adventures to go see the humpbacks of the Silverbank.
Absolutely incredible trip. Email us if you're interested. We should have dates in the next week or two, and we'll put information on our website, afterthebreachpodcast.com. And that is an incredible trip. I do want to give a caveat, and I was telling people at the photo workshop about this. When you're out on the Silverbank, the waters are pretty protected out there. There's not a lot of movement of the boat, of the mothership. You can have some waves when you're out on the tenders. But we talked about this in an episode with Davin. I think this was our Whales of the World episode, our first episode of 2023. Getting out there it can be fine getting out there, but you are making a crossing.
It's open ocean.
It's open ocean and some really deep water.
Yeah, it's the third deepest trench in the world, I think, the Puerto Rican Trench that we cross over.
Yeah, and so, it can be not the most comfortable seas. It's totally safe. I mean, you're in this
they would
really
never take
awesome boat that's
safe.
built for that. But if you get seasick or are worried about big water, it does require that you get through there. And the way I like to explain this, and I remember it had been several years since I had gone on the trip because of COVID. I think I had 3 years in between my last two Conscious Breath Silverbank trips.
Yeah, we did, because it was
2019.
Yeah, in
2019. Yeah, so it's 4 years. And so the way that I remembered it was going out there this year. It's like what, 9 hours of a crossing
overnight.
And
well, usually it wasn't this year, but yeah, usually.
And you get into the crossing and, again, sometimes it's totally like, wow, it was beautiful and no big deal. But this was a windy one. And you start you're so locked into the crossing that you can't see anything else. You just like, this is uncomfortable. I'm not feeling great, or whatever it is. And then you get out there and you remember, like, this is why I came out here. And it's so worth going through that crossing to get out there, because it is one of the most incredible places, most incredible experiences.
Absolutely.
So we'll put more details out there as we get them, but hopefully some of you guys are interested in joining us. It'll be an amazing trip out there.
Yeah, it's really great. It's a small group, so it's like 20 people.
Right.
That go out there you're out there in the water for 4.5 days. Just give it a week.
Well,
right?
you're not in the water.
Not in the water for
4.5 days straight.
Yes, you are. No, it's really, like Jeff said, it's an amazing experience. To me, it was like life-changing experience. We'll get the dates early so you can do, a payment plan. That's how we usually do it anyway. And I'm just, really excited about this one and excited about sharing this place with, some fellow whale lovers.
And we do talk, if you're interested in learning more through a podcast, we did talk in episode 7 in detail, and we talked with Gene Flipsy, the owner-operator of Conscious Breath Adventures, about those trips.
Shout out to Gene. So, all right. Well, hey, great workshop, Jeff. I'm looking forward to the next one. Hopefully we'll get some more of you guys listening out with us. We'd love to meet you. Even if you're not coming out for a workshop, we are still running tours through the fall and into winter. We'll be running probably through early to mid-December before we pack it up and head to Australia.
Yes, Bremer Bay.
Yep. But definitely reach out to us and come on out. Fall is still amazing.
Such a great time.
Wonderful time of year to be out here.
Whether it's a half day, we're running half days every day.
We have a couple all days left.
And then we have a couple all days left that are on Sundays. The next month is still such a great time. And then as we get into the fall, we still see Biggs almost every trip, and the humpbacks start getting pretty rowdy. As we get into the fall, we start seeing behavior that you would see in the breeding waters, but they're still here. They start getting pretty social with each other. And so our fall trips are awesome.
They are.
Hope to see you guys out here.
And if you are local or relatively local or are going to be here for Thanksgiving, we do an all-day tour on Black Friday. Opt outside. All day tour. We're heading out. It's usually amazing. I
think it's our 5th or 6th year doing this.
Yeah, and we mentioned it on the last episode, but we do still have just a couple of seats left on that one. So we'd love
almost full.
Yeah, love to have you guys out. I will not be on that trip because I'm at the art market, but you could go out on the trip and then you could come see me at the art market and buy a bunch of cool whale swag and other cool, like, locally made art,
And April and I will be on the all-day trip.
So.
And there will be donuts.
Will you bring me a donut?
I will bring you a donut to the art market afterwards.
All right.
Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for listening.
Thanks,
we really, really appreciate it.
And if you have any questions or ideas for topics, as always, feel free to reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, by email. If we're slow to respond, I apologize. We're just kind of getting caught up after a long, busy summer. But definitely reach out to us anytime. We would love to hear your questions and feedback and insight. So definitely reach out, and thanks for listening.
And if you're enjoying this, please share it with your friends. Leave us a review. And most importantly, stay safe out there.
Oh my gosh, stay safe out there.
Okay, so we were done, but Sarah just pointed out there's something that I forgot to mention about our photo.
At my own expense, I might add. Just for you.
You're a good sport, and I appreciate that. But everybody who was on the photo workshop who's listening will remember this peak moment. So we are out looking for lunge feeding humpbacks, and we're seeing 4 to 6 humpbacks. They're spread out. They're moving around quite a bit. We would occasionally see a lunge, and we could tell there was feeding going on. And I pointed out a bait ball. So a lot of bird activity is going on above the water.
And then I pointed out one on our other side. You guys were looking at whales off our port side. Just get it right. You guys were looking at whales off our port side, and I had noticed a bait ball forming at 3:00.
Yes, and so if you don't know, a bait ball, you get a lot of small fish under the water, and they're being they're bunching up into a ball and birds are flying around and dive bombing and feeding on them. And I'm watching this bait ball grow. And I turned to Sarah. I said, hey, should we go over there? And she says, there's no whale over there.
There wasn't a whale over there when I was looking.
Except as soon as she said there's no whale over there, like literally.
The words weren't even like done coming out of
They
her
weren't
mouth.
even done coming out. This humpback makes the biggest lunge that we saw all day right through that bait ball. And everybody was in earshot of what she said. And it was the funniest moment.
Yeah, I got a lot of flack for it. I'm still getting flack for it. I'm going to still get flack for it a year from now, I'm sure.
So the key is, if Sarah says there's no whale over there, that's where you look. All right, everybody, stay safe out there.
Stay safe out there.
But wait, there's more. Sarah just pointed out to me now that we forgot the matriline, which we forgot last time too. So we need to add that in here as well. And Sarah's laughing. This podcast will eventually end, so stick with us.
Promise.
We're almost done.
You can see how delirious we are after a summer of no sleep.
So who are we meeting today, Sarah?
Well, I thought since we were talking about Jack's summer camp crew, we would introduce the T-36s, which seems kind of counterintuitive because there's no T-36s in Jack's summer camp.
Jack's summer camp. There's 2 137As and 2 37As.
I know. Interesting. But T-36 is the presumed mom of T-137. So that's the connection there.
And where's the 99 connection in there?
T-99 is also believed to be a daughter of T-36.
Gotcha. So 36 was a busy lady.
She was, well, still is. I
Yes,
mean,
but
she's post-reproductive now, but she's still out and kicking. So yeah, really amazing family, one that we talk about. So it's why I thought we would talk about them on this episode, and we saw them on Sunday.
We did see them. They were with the 49As,
or at least part of 36As, I guess.
To end the tour, and they were also with the T60s earlier last week.
Mm-hmm. So she's kind of one of these prolific moms as well. She's not like quite as prolific as like T109A or T124A,
but still, I would still consider a power family. If you had the 137s and the 99s, that's still I would call a power family.
I will have to double check this, but I'm pretty sure when T36 was measured by John and Holly from SR3 that she was the largest, like fattest of the Biggs.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But she has had presumably five offspring. So T99, T137 are, likely hers. They weren't young enough when they were first encountered with her to be 100% confirmed that they're her offspring, but likely. And then T36A and T36B, which are still living. And then she had another calf, T36C, which did not survive. And has a ton of grandkids. No great grandkids yet, but soon, hopefully. No, yeah, she did. T36A1 had a calf. So she is a great grandmother now.
Yes.
Sorry. This is me catching up. But T36, born before 1970, has had those five offspring. She still travels with her youngest surviving offspring, T36B, Tattertip.
Yes.
I'm not sure about the name, but... So usually encountered as a, group of five.
Right.
T36B has 3 sons.
I don't see them.
Not 3 sons.
I think
T36B
I think we see the
female.
36As more often.
Yeah. So
I know them better than 36Bs.
Mm-hmm. So T36B, oldest is a daughter. Youngest is male. We don't know the sex on the middle one, to my knowledge. And the T36A is who we saw, who I love.
Oh, another family, like young family with a bunch of kids.
Yeah, so T36's oldest daughter, T36A, oldest confirmed.
That we know, yeah.
Right. And she has 5 kids, 4 of which are surviving. And that was one, I don't know if we've talked about it on the episode, where she had, and I think you and April maybe were one of the first people to see that calf, her 4th calf, T36A4, born in March of 2019, and died just a couple months later.
Right.
But I was out with Tasley, actually. We were two boats out there, and we were the 2 boats on scene, and this was in the summer of 2019 with the T36As, and it was up in Trincomalee Channel near Portlier Pass. And they were acting like they were on a hunt. They'd made a kill. There were gulls around. But the gulls, and this is what I tell people, like, look at everything that's going on around you, because you'll get clues from other things.
Like, a bait ball.
Okay, Jeff. The gulls were Bonaparte's gulls, and Bonaparte's gulls don't feed on like scraps of meat. They feed on in the current line, so they're not eating like whatever the whales have killed. So they were incidental there and not indicative of a kill having been made. And she was actually diving after her calf that had passed away. So they were carrying the body, and I think they carried it for at least a few days with them. But she's since had a very healthy and bouncing little kid, T36A5.
Yeah.
And her oldest daughter, T36A1, Tierna, had a calf in 2022 as well, just a couple months apart from T36A. So T36 became a great grandmother with T36A1A, a little boy.
And it's fun to see those 2 little kids together. I mean, it's just one of the trips that sticks out for me with them. And we actually found them on our way back after seeing other. Oh, yeah.
It was the 37As we saw up at.
Yeah, up at Portlier. Mm-hmm. And then everybody was resting. They were in this resting line, except for the 2 kids.
2 kids were playing.
Yeah. I'll never forget that. It's fun when you see families with little kids, because there's so much energy.
Yeah, it really is. And one of the kind of cool things I think about this family is that they have some of these beauty marks. So T36 A has like 2 spots on her chin, kind of like Keiko did. T36A5 has a spot like lower down between not kind of on his chin, not quite to his pectoral fins. His or her, I should say. T99 has one as well.
Yeah.
And T36 kind of has this like feathery quality to her eye patches.
Yes.
So all these little
really cool family.
Yeah, kind of some similarities there. So yeah, the T36 matrilines. So great grandmother, T36, born before 1970. Her 4 living offspring, 2 of which are confirmed, 2 of which are presumed. T36A, T36B, T36A, born in 1990, T36B, born in 1998, and then T137 and T99. And I'm thinking 1980 and 1986.
Yeah,
or 1984, somewhere in there, 1980s.
Yeah. I mean, you look at, I don't know the exact count, but this is a power family. There are a lot of whales in there. I mean, it's like you said, it's not as many as in the 109s, but it's not that far off. Sarah's counting. 19. So yeah, I mean, close to 10 whale difference between the 109s, but still 19, that's huge. Yep. It's a big family.
Yeah. And some still young females that are in the prime of their kind of reproductive life, and lots of grandkids that are, either female or yet to be determined, that will hopefully be having kiddos as well.
Yep.
No, I take that back. 20. 99E.
Oh, there you go. So 20. All right. Awesome.
So meet the matriline. That was the T36s. I think we did the T65As like several episodes ago.
We're going to try and remember this
a more regular thing,
so that we don't forget. We did forget it last episode, but I'm glad you just remembered after we forgot.
And we'll put up some more information about them in the show notes.
So again, everybody,
for the last time, this time,
stay safe out there.
Stay safe out there.